Yes, no everybody, welcome back to the United View YouTube channel. We're here with episode 48 of What the Devil. Me, Dylan, United District, joined back again with Kane for the first time in a while back on the podcast. And Yusuf, we're going to be talking about a lot of what's been going on in the last 2 weeks, really, because we didn't film last week. There's been so much stuff on Garnacho, there's been stuff on Rashford, all this kind of chaos surrounding Amarim's system, the 3-4-3. Oh, he should change back. No, he should stay the same. And obviously, we're playing Rangers tomorrow as well. We played in pre-season. But I want to start with the Garnacho stuff. So yesterday, the United's Matt, I think, is it Matt Hargreaves? I can't remember what his name is. One of the United officials flew out to Milan to speak with Inter Milan. Flew to Milan to speak with Napoli, about Alejandro Garnacho. And it seems as if the two clubs are actually getting a little bit closer to a deal than I thought they would. I thought this would be a case of United would sit there and go, no, bid 65 or leave. But it's not. Yeah. It feels like they've they're more willing. It seems like United are a lot more willing to actually go into this transfer and complete it than initially that I thought would actually happen.
Yeah, it's a little bit different to the Mainu stuff, isn't it? Like obviously a couple of weeks ago, the Mainu and Chelsea kind of thing came out, and everyone panicked for a couple of days, and then it almost seemed like different reports came out, and it seemed like, okay, right, that's not going to happen this month. Potentially something might happen in the future. We don't know the finances, but that's not going to happen this month. With the Garnacho stuff, it quickly became apparent.
It's really built up in the last 3 or 4 days.
The last week, it looks like something that is more likely to happen than it seems more likely that he's going to leave than stay at this point. And yeah, there's so many conflicting opinions about it, but I just think the price is the main thing now. No matter what you think, I think if you want him sold, you don't really want him sold for 50 million or so.
I would be so disappointed if I end up seeing a fee come out that's below 55, 60 million, because I feel like he's genuinely worth that amount of money.
And the reports are really they're quite ranged, aren't they? I feel like some are mentioning 50, some are going all the way up to 75, which I think that would help a lot.
It depends where the reports have been from. The English side of the reports are very much throwing out the higher numbers, 65, 70, 75 million. Whereas the Naples, specifically all the reports from Naples, not necessarily just Italy, but specifically Naples, is saying more around 55 million euros, which is about 46, 47 million pounds. It's a big difference. I feel like it is a little bit of a media game between the two clubs at the moment, but I would be so gutted. I would be gutted if he leaves, not necessarily in the future, maybe, who knows, if he's succeeding or what not, but if he leaves in this window, I'd be gutted because it's such a ridiculous 180 from where we were literally 4 or 5 months ago with him. He was top scorer in October. He was playing well. He was carrying the team on his back. He played 37 games in a row last season.
He was an untouchable.
An untouchable player in the summer, yeah. But I will we can debate in a bit about should he stay, should he go. But I want to talk about, on the assumption he does go, which just is looking increasingly likely, is who replaces him, because Anthony's off to Betis, but and it feels like that we're going to replace Anthony. We're looking at Dorgu, because Dorgu's, I think, left-footed, can play up
a bit further
as a
forward,
winger, but
yeah.
we've not needed Anthony really as a winger. Anthony's been playing more as a fullback on occasion, but Dorgu seems like he'll come in as that left fullback, so swapping Anthony out the squad and replacing him with Dorgu. But then if Garnacho also goes, you need a replacement, because we already have a pretty weak attacking line.
Well, we're not scoring goals. We're not scoring goals at the moment. Yeah. So if you take away someone who, no matter the competition that it's in, I know a lot of the goals.
He's our second top scorer this season.
Yeah,
7 goals.
But yeah, you can't take him out without bringing in a replacement. And I think.
And it's in January, who is that? Because I feel like if we get rid of Garnacho now in January, and then no one comes in, even just for the next couple of months, that supplements the attack, we're going to get even worse.
And the funny thing is, you also look at the academy, and you've also sent probably, I'd say Ethan Ennis might be one of the players who would potentially be able to step up and be a squad option. He's been sent out on loan. I think a lot of the other options like Chido and Ibrahimov, they're really young and probably too young to come through now. So it's quite
Yeah, I was going to mention Ethan Ennis. Like, he's one who's, you've sent him on loan. You sent Ethan Williams on loan as well. So
Wheatley's probably likely to go on loan as well.
Yeah, so a lot of the options who maybe could actually come in aren't going to come in.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's going to be a transfer, I think. I don't think because I think we saw the rumours about Anthony and Malacia, and we weren't really linked heavily with a wing back. And then the Dorgu links come in, and you're like, okay, this makes sense that they're going to want to get this over the line, because you can't. Malacia's probably not good enough, and he needs consistent game time after that injury. But taking him and Anthony, who both are probably like you'd consider wing backs, backup wing backs, you need someone to come in. And you needed someone to come in anyway. It's the same. It's the same with the forward line. You need someone.
We're getting rid of up to 4 players in this last week because Malacia's like the club wanted him to go on loan. Anthony's going on loan. Garnacho seems like he could be leaving, and Rashford, the club are trying to secure him a loan. Rashford could stay. We don't know, but let's say he does go to Barcelona or wherever if they figure out their stuff. That's 4 players who could be leaving this squad, and we are seemingly maybe getting Dorgu if we can pay the 35 million quid that Lecce want.
Or if we can.
It's like because I'm a bit worried. Cause I don't see where the replacement's coming because we need to replace them this window.
And you do also look at the players who are left, and you've got Xerxes and Højlund, who most of the time occupy like the same position. Like it's either one or the other. Like he's only tried them together like once, and that was the game where Xerxes got brought off early. Bruno, who some people might argue that he could be better coming into that midfield too. Like some people were saying, because I've noticed in some games where that left, and obviously that's going to be probably the position which you'd want to strengthen, but that left like attacking midfield role, which Bruno has been playing in sometimes, it's almost like it's like a runner's role a lot of the time.
He's not quick enough for it.
And he's also like when he gets the ball, like he's not the most dynamic player. Like he's actually improved his manipulation a lot. That Liverpool game he was doing crazy stuff. But he's not usually the kind of player who's going to take it, turn, go on the dribble and stuff. And you need, when you're playing in those kind of spaces, you need players who can dribble and find those solutions.
Yeah, so you think you've got 2 players who are probably occupying the same position. You got Bruno, who might be better a bit further back, and Ahmad, who is probably going to start there. But also there's a conversation for him to be the wing back on the right. So it's like there's only really one Xerxes and Højlund as there's 2 strikers who probably, you can argue, neither of them are good enough. It's almost like it's like completely empty across the front line. So
and then another problem is people are talking about Osimhen, but if you sell all these wings and stuff and you sign Osimhen, you're actually just wasting money.
Who's serving him?
Yeah, who's serving him?
Yeah, so
this is what I was going to ask is, do you guys have any names in mind? I have a couple. One of them is someone we've been linked with this morning in Brahim Diaz from Real Madrid. It's a bit of a rogue one, but he's like it's very vague reports. There's nothing concrete or substantial. But for example, so he's obviously competing with Bellingham, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Mbappe for like the kind of the attacking lines and the more forward areas, and Gula as well. Yeah, and Endrick. Like there's space. I think there's space for him in the squad. There's also like Mateus Cunha from Wolves. I'm not 100% sure what's happened, but there's a couple of like disciplinary or minor argument problems with him.
Yeah, I think the thing with him, because a couple of weeks ago it seemed like he was just like set to sign a new deal and probably go in the summer or the next summer for like bigger money, securing them a big deal. I think there's like, because obviously they could go down still, like they're still in and around the relegation zone. I think there's like troubles about like a relegation clause or something like that. But I mean, I've not watched like too much of Cunha apart from this season and especially that game against United where like he just ran the show. But I kind of know Yusuf is against it, so I'll kind of like go in support of that one. And I think it sounds like the kind of deal which United need to do more of a Premier League player, a Premier League proven player who almost seems like he suits that role. And I know that like that's the conversation that you'll probably go against, but he suits that role on the left, it seems, quite well. And like with Garnacho, I think the problem is that like he's 20 years old, he's really promising. If you're gonna sell him and replace him, it needs to be with someone who is like ready to make an impact right now for for the reasons which I mentioned before as well, like we're depleted there anyway. So if you're getting rid of a promising player, I don't want to see him. Like I think we were linked with another. I think it was Nenny from the RBs, and like I've got no clue about him. I know his younger brother scored 2 against United's youth team last night.
He's older than Garnacho. Doesn't bring as many numbers. Any of that, like I'd actually be so underwhelmed. I've not watched loads of him, but from what I have heard, from what I have seen about him, it would be such an underwhelming replacement.
Yeah, and I'm not even like, it's not even just him. Like I don't really want the replacement to be the similar type of player to Garnacho, where it's like he's got the promise, or like a similar type of player to Nenny. I think you want that ready-made kind of player to come into the team and immediately improve the team.
Yeah,
and I think Cunha would.
If you're selling Garnacho at age 20, you want to bring someone in who's like 24, 25, 26, and has been playing an established role, even not necessarily for a top team, like just any team, who's been playing a role that United will want. So I think, like specifically a creative role. So I think that we're missing that more than goals.
Yeah.
The creativity to then create the chances to score those goals.
And also, I think like just if whoever comes in, if they can carry the ball and like you said, like Bruno showed it, like the ball manipulation in those tight spaces. I think those two things, like if they can take the ball on the half turn, on the halfway line from a ball from Lisandro Martinez and then spin and get the team 30, 40 yards up the pitch with their like power, ball carrying, that's what I want. Because, I mean, obviously that some of the reports of Garnacho have mentioned that on his side, that he's unsure about his role in the system and stuff. And I mean, I guess we can take it with a pinch of salt, but I think everyone can kind of realise that inside role is definitely not as suitable to him as a touchline winger.
Because that's the system he's grown up in at United. He's playing very much as that wide left winger and he didn't really on the right in the academy, did he? But yeah, it's just not really suited him, and he's not as good with his back to goal. Is another thing.
Yeah, I still wish if he leaves,
he can still be developed, to be honest.
Yeah,
he can. Yeah.
If he leaves, I'd be disappointed that there wasn't like more time to see if he could develop into that role, and also not even tested as the wing back. Because I still think, like right now, I mean, we'll get onto this in a bit, but right now everyone's complaining about the formation and saying you've got 2 fullbacks playing as the wing backs. Like we've seen when Ahmad's there, it's almost like a back 4 at points, because the left wing back is Dalot.
And he's pushing so far forward.
Well, when he's alongside Ahmad, it's almost like he's a bit deeper and Ahmad's a bit more forward, unless we're getting pinned back. And it's like, I would have liked to see Garnacho on the left and let's say Dalot or Mazraoui on the right, just to see that kind of dynamic with him. Because how many times, especially in the last game, I felt like it happened a fair few times, where Dalot gets the ball in isolation, one-on-one, and he's like the worst player in the team that you want in a 1v1 like with someone.
It's so frustrating, Dalot. Like I've got a lot of faith that Dalot can be a good player for us. Yeah. But just him at that left wing. I don't know why Mazraoui's not been tried there.
Well, I think even Mazraoui's levels have dropped.
They've dropped sides a few times, but
I feel like
Mazraoui's just tired. I think
he might be.
I think he also suits in the back 3 better than as a wing back.
100%.
Yeah, but I was going to say, Yusuf, you said to me earlier you've got an argument for why United should keep Garnacho.
Yeah, I mean, as well, to be fair, I've got a few things. So in terms of Cunha, I'll address that first.
Yeah.
I think Cunha suits the role very well. I think he's a very good player, but I don't want him because I feel like he's a very niche player. So whilst he suits that role, that is his role. If we, for example, change systems or in a few years moved on from Amorim, like, again, different system, people say, oh, he can play as a striker, 10, like winger, but it's actually that one specific function he serves really well. So I don't want us to buy niche players. I don't want us to buy players for the system. I've said this on the pod before. I want us to buy good quality players who can perform different functions. And I also think Cunha is one of those players, not as in like play style and stuff, but I think he doesn't know what I mean. He reminds you a little bit of like Grealish at Villa. As absolutely peaking. Like I think he suits being like the absolute main man in a team that's not like a top team, but is a good team. I think he suits that better than being like at a Manchester United, for example. So that's why I'm against Cunha. In terms of who I'd want to replace Garnacho, I know we're talking about like some players with a bit more experience or quality right now. I don't want Kenan Yildiz from Juventus because I think he's good right now. He's good enough right now that he would upgrade on Garnacho and make impact for us. But I look at his makeup as a player. He's like 6'2". He's quick. He's pretty strong. He's 2-footed. Very, very technical. Strikes the ball brilliantly. Really good dribbler, and he's got a lot of like natural flair. He's very exciting to watch. He plays with like a lot of intensity and bravery. Like you work really hard about the ball, but on it, like he'll go at his man a lot. He'll try stuff. He's very brave, and I think that like fearless style really speaks to United fans a lot. And I think he's a very good creator. He can play centrally and wide. So like he's played as a winger and as a 10 for Juventus. And I think all of those things combined with a player who is developing and can still get better, I think that's like almost a no-brainer. And like this player should be somebody that we are looking at because he's got the quality, he can develop, and he offers you so many different options. But yeah, in terms of keeping Garnacho, do you know what? I think like, I'll be honest, I know even 60 million, I would ideally want like 70 million for Garnacho.
Yeah, but I feel like in this market, like, as much as
we're not going to get that
in
this like in the current situation where we need the money and it's January and stuff. But I think people have actually overdone it with him a little bit in terms of how like bad he is. I don't actually think he's that bad. I think he's had a bit of a dip in his development and stuff, and maybe he's not come as far as we hoped maybe in like 2023 that he would come at this point, but he's not a bad player. He actually brings a lot of
he's also in a scenario where like no one can develop consistently.
He's in a really, really difficult, but we have to remember literally just last summer this guy won us an FA Cup.
Yeah.
The summer before that, he came off the bench in the FA Cup final. He was like probably the player who impressed everybody the most with what he did. Like he came on and everyone came out that final thinking this Garnacho kid is brilliant. Like he almost got United back in the game after 2-1. Like he's just like they're thinking this kid's got a potential superstar. Like he is not a bad player. In my opinion, I've said this many times, what he needs to work on is his core strength and his hip strength, because that fixes so much. So his first touch and stuff, a lot of it comes because he's imbalanced. Get your core strength, your hip strength up, your balance improves, your touch improves, your 1v1s improve, your contact improves, your ball striking improves. A lot of it improves if you just improve your core and your hip strength. But like, I don't like how much people are so willing to sell a kid who's actually come out of the academy and like come in the first team in a period which wasn't always like the easiest, and he's actually like made an impact and in big games had big moments. I think, look, if we get a good offer for him, like in our current situation, and we can get somebody who is an actual upgrade on him, I wouldn't mind selling him. Like we would be gutted to see him go, but I just think this way people are almost like celebrating him going is like not great.
As well, it's like the thing that annoys me is especially like the academy angle. It should be like you should be selling academy players if they're not good enough to play in your first team, or if they want to leave to get consistent minutes. Whereas like selling an academy player who's like suddenly like who's become an important member of your team, probably more important than he should be, but like as a player, Garnacho is still more than good enough to be a really important like member of the squad. And you're selling him, and the reports are saying about formation and stuff like that. But let's be honest, you're selling him because you want the profit and because we're in a terrible financial situation. Like that is 90 to 99% of the reason. Like whether he fits in Amorim's formation or not, like that is the be all and end all of if we sell him, it's to get money. And like that's just sad, isn't it? Like for Manchester United, like the club who is known for giving like youth a chance, and like, and it is player preference as well.
To be fair, selling players for pure profit to buy specific system players,
horrible.
Like, that is not Man United.
And to be fair, like I remember that like when McTominay after McTominay left, and I think it was Ashworth and was it Wilcox or it might have been Barada had that little interview with journalists, and like I think Ashworth said at the time, he was like he didn't just mention the McTominay thing, but he mentioned like football as a whole right now, and he was like the one man club, one player club, one club players, and players who come through the academy and stay the whole time. It's not going to happen as much anymore.
It doesn't exist.
Because of this, like, because of FFP and because of teams like United need to do it. Like, we should really blame United more than the rules, because the rules are there and United have just ignored them and spent so much money.
We've sold McTominay for 30 million to avoid charges, and then we've gone and spent 50 on Ugarte.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just, I just find it a little bit disturbing. Like,
that's just the situation the club are now in, because of coming back to the fact that they've been kind of just like dismantled by the original owners. It's like kind of, it is. I do agree, it is sad that we were in the situation, but it's also kind of, it also just has to happen.
It's just, it's a shame to see a player with genuine potential leave. And also, I will reference Anthony Elanga, and like, I think him leaving was the right thing for him. I think Forest is a better team for him in terms of the way they play and stuff. It suits him brilliantly, but you look at how much he's improved and how well he's playing now, like, and everyone's saying, bring him back. Or we should never have sold him.
And at the time, everyone was going, it didn't matter because we got Garnacho.
That
was the argument.
Garnacho could, in a year or so, have all the people saying now, oh, get him gone as soon as you can. 50 million is like, you know, a brilliant offer. We're robbing Napoli. Saying like, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know,
because he might be in a better environment.
I mean, one thing I'll add on it is, I don't care like whether you want Garnacho to stay or go. If he stays in the Premier League and goes to Chelsea, I can't do it.
I won't be able. Yeah,
it'd be horrible.
Even watching Sancho at Chelsea sometimes play well, I'm just like,
it's horrible.
It just But I was going to say, sorry, I want to move on to the system stuff now. Yeah. So there's been so much discourse on Amorim's system. You know, the big 3-4-3, and everyone throwing up in arms about the fact that the system doesn't suit the players. He should have designed a new one to suit the players and then brought in players to change the system. But I know we've spoken about this before, and I remember before we first started playing, I was a little bit iffy about Amorim coming in and then just immediately going, right, 3-4-3 from minute one. But and then as soon as kind of he had his press conference and explained why he was doing it, I was like, okay, I am actually fully on board with that, because the later you implement it in your squad, the later it is until they learn it. And I think that was Ten Hag's big downfall, was him playing with one style of system to start in the first year of his career at United, and then trying to flip it in the summer and then do something else when the players were used to a previous thing. And then obviously Rashford then wasn't as firing as well. And you were doing it while having players who were declining, like Casemiro, as essentials in your squad. But there's just been so much discourse around it. Yeah. Because he keeps getting gegenpressed in the press conferences about it, and he's been saying, like, you know, no, this is me, this is my idea, this is why I was hired, this is what I'm going to do. And I agree with him. I think we all do. We agree that he should like continue with this, or should he be making tweaks?
But the thing is, I don't think he's against making tweaks. Like, obviously the other night there was like, I think it was either after or before the Brighton game, where he said, like, I'm not changing, like, I'm not going to change what I want to do at this football club. I think people are like so in that. If a manager who played a 4-2-3-1 formation said that, I think everyone would be like, almost wouldn't blink an eye at it. Whereas because it's this different formation, and like, I feel like back three coaches like have like a stigma against them, everyone's like so focused on it, and it's like, I don't even think he's on about like the exact formation. Like, I think at the start of the season, it might have been the United kind of interview he said he was open to changes, and after one of his opening games, I think he was saying that I think he mentioned to a journalist, like, did you watch us out of possession? We were out of possession, we were in a back four.
Yeah.
And it seems that he is up to making small tweaks, fluid, like making the team a bit more fluid, but I think when he speaks about he doesn't want to change, I think it's like his overarching kind of idea, philosophy, whatever you say. And that could be in a 3-4-2-1, it could be in a 4-4-2, it could be in a 4-2-3-1. Like, I don't think that has like, I don't think it's stressed by the formation. So like, the formation chat is just like boring to me at this point. I think the main thing you've got to look at is he's trying the formation, because I think that is like, you want to build the players into the philosophy, and he's a young manager. He's only had about 5 seasons, and this is the way that he's played for most of that time. So I think it's most comfortable for a manager to kind of get this specific system, everyone understanding it, and then is that easier to make tweaks after that, do you reckon? Like,
yeah, I think the thing is, okay, so with terms of making tweaks, you need the players to allow you to make those tweaks, but I don't think the formation is actually much of an issue, because like you say, out of possession, we defended 4. I was actually, it was a Europa League game, I was at the game, I think it was Bodo Glimt, or it may have been the PAOK game, but we had the Malacia would drop in, and Anthony as a wing-back was pushing a little bit higher on. And even in possession, when I've had games where we've played a winger at wing-back, and we've actually, like, it looks like a 4 base building out, and you've got, you know, it's almost like a 4-2-2-2 type of formation at times, or like you get shapes with a 4, so it's not as inflexible as people think. And I think people need to realize formations are not principles, because a lot, like if you're playing in a 4-2-3-1, realistically the manager is going to build with a 3 base anyways. So does the fact that they start in a 4 and then make a 3 when they're playing with the ball actually make that much of a difference?
The problem is the wing backs and who we've got there. That's literally like the main thing.
This is the thing I wanted to talk about. So if you look at right now, we're playing Mazraoui and Dalot at wing back. Now, Mazraoui and Dalot are not attacking specialists. They're not final third specialists, right? They are brilliant possession players, but the final third is not their strongest point. They're not players who are, you know, you look at a lot of back 3 teams, they've got very attacking players. The positions, Dalot and Mazraoui don't really fit that. But what ends up happening is you have the 3 central defenders here, all right? And then you got that 3, and then the 2 wing backs drop, and you make a 5. And then Ugarte and Menu in the middle, they don't complement each other very well. And then up front, you got Ahmad here, you got Fernandes here, you got Højlund here, right? Ahmad tends to drift wide, because especially when we get to the settled play in the final third, Ahmad will drift wide, Mazraoui will arrive in that 10 space, and they'll link up with each other, they'll move in coordination with each other, but a lot of the time, Ahmad receives the ball high and wide when Mazraoui's deep. Fernandes often drops to help out that midfield, because with Ugarte and Menu, there's not a lot of verticality in the passing, and also because, again, that's what he is. He will drop
that's
to the
what
ball.
he does,
And then Højlund's up there, and he's going to try and stretch the last line, or occupied centre-backs, or Xerxes going to drop the ball. But either way, the attackers pull in different directions. The wing-backs are down here with the centre-backs, and the midfield 2 don't complement each other. So you've got isolated attackers, midfielders who don't work as well together, and then a back 5. And then when we get the ball up the pitch, we're isolated, we lose the ball. And we press then in that 5-2-3 shape as soon as you beat that 3. Now, Ahmad, I think, you know, we can talk about how brilliant his pressing is. Like, it got his 3rd goal against Southampton. It led to the penalty against Brighton.
That's like a 2-3 minute compilation of like goals that have come from his pressing.
He's really good, but he, like, you know, actually, and Højlund even against Bodo, he made that Garnacho goal from his pressing, but you know, if you beat that 3 of Højlund, Fernandes and Ahmad, you've got 2 here in Menu and Ugarte, and then 5. So if you've got 2 in the middle, knock it around them, cool. Or if one pulls wide and one's not in the right position, play just directly through him. It is so easy to manipulate that too. And that's part of the problem, is that the wing backs are dropping too deep. And I know people talk about back threes negative. This is actually quite negative, and it's the lack of bravery that I don't like. And the weirdest thing is, you look, we've actually had our best football come when Ahmad's played at wing back, and this is like, you were talking about Garnacho wing back. I've been saying for weeks, can we try Garnacho as a wing back? Like, you know, it actually helped Dalot out a bit. I think Dalot as a right wing back would be a lot more suited, or even if you have Mazraoui on that side, it's fine. But Garnacho as the left wing back, you got Ahmad as the right wing back. Like, just try
something different.
Something. I know people are against Ahmad being in that wing back position. They're like, oh, we need him in the 10, but like, you've got to make some sacrifices.
The main thing with Ahmad, I think, is no matter what position he's in, you want him to get more touches on the ball.
Yeah,
and I was like, in that Brighton game, I was like, fucking hell. Like, every time it goes to him, it's something's happening. But because he's out on that right flank, a bit further forward, and we can't get out of the press, or if we beat the press, it's kind of going the other way or going central. It was like the ball wasn't going to him enough. So it's like that wing back role. I think the best part about that for me with Ahmad is he gets on the ball.
Yeah,
more.
he gets on the ball, and he can drop in like deep in that first phase, collect the ball on the touchline and carry it up the pitch, which, you know, he did for Rashford's goal against Ipswich, the, you know, first goal, the Romero, where we all got like really excited, like, oh my god, what a start! Like, he can do that. But then I think also people think, oh, they have to, oh, he's a wing back. Like, no, we need him as an attacker. But in reality he's actually playing as an attacker just because on paper he's a wing back. He's gonna get the ball wide. He'll come inside. He'll be able to attack inside the pitch. He will be able to make runs, things like that.
Well, that's the same. It's like people will complain about Ahmad being a wing back, but then also complain about Dalot being a wing back because he's so bad going forward. So it's
Just,
like
you got to think about
the wing backs get the
actual
most
functions.
1v1 kind of like situations almost.
Yeah.
And also the defense. I remember before Amorim came in, and obviously I was watching different videos, like watching a bit of sport, and I remember people were mentioning that in those like out of possession, it's like the wing backs were almost never in line with the back line.
Yeah.
They were always a bit further forward, like and in
They were more in line
with
with
the
the
midfield.
midfield,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is like I think.
Even against Liverpool, Dalot pushing on much higher and Mazraoui, that asymmetry, that completely ruined their press.
Yeah.
And everyone, okay, Trent having a stinker of a game did help a bit, but even without that, they were struggling because like that asymmetry is really hard to defend. If you got one fullback who goes here, one fullback who goes here, right? It actually it gives you a lot of challenges, right? You don't ever want players just standing in the same lines as each other. So I really do think that he needs to change it. I think he's trying to almost like solidify us defensively a bit, but we're not like we're conceding goals anyways. You're inviting pressure onto us. Just like, it's the bravery is what I want to see more than anything. Like I would, if we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose. I'd rather lose if we play Garnacho as a wing back or Ahmad as a wing back
Then what we're
like
seeing at the moment.
than playing a back five at home to Brighton.
The one thing I want to ask you guys quickly is overall from mid-November to now, are you happy with what you've seen?
No.
In
terms of like-
I'm
no.
thinking that in terms of what Amorim is trying to do, what he's trying to
Do you know
figure
what the
out
funny
with his
thing is
squad.
though? I think we were doing okay in games that we were dropping points at first.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure in the Forest game, ridiculous defensive mistakes, but otherwise, like it was like an okay performance.
We should have probably like won other than like, Onana.
Yeah, and the Spurs game in the Carabao Cup, like ridiculous like, and we didn't start amazingly, but like the second half, I'm pretty sure like we were, if I remember correctly, like all over them, and like there were positive signs. I think and Amorim's mentioned this, when you continue to lose and continue, like if you're playing well or playing half decent throughout games and you're losing, that slowly will just like creep into the team and the performances go. And I think that's kind of happened now. I think
there's mentality issues as well. Even Amorim said this about like, you know, the Liverpool game says there's the mentality. And Liverpool also, we saw how much these players turned up and the things they were doing in this game and how like focused they were. But then Southampton and Brighton come and they're like not as focused. Like we're performing worse against Southampton at home than we are against Arsenal away. And it's not that the team's different or whatever. It's actually just like
mentality. Of
yeah,
the
and even
players
Fernandes said it. Even Bruno Fernandes said it. Like when we're against the small teams, it's almost like we switch off a little bit. And this has been a thing for years and years and years. This is where, you know, I've said this so many times. The club culture is a problem, but Amorim has to fix that. It's not an easy job for him, but I think as well. I said this to some friends yesterday. I said when you're playing a back five against these kind of teams, what kind of precedent do you set mentally in that? Like you're almost setting yourself up in an inferior manner. So I'm not saying it is all on Amorim. I'm saying he could help it by actually, you know, going safety off, like go for them, be brave.
Yeah, and I agree with that point. I just think like that's a completely different point to like hating the formation and saying he's got to change. I think
100%.
it's personnel. Well, and obviously I think his argument like would probably be like those opening 6 or 7 games he was doing Ahmad as wing back, and I think Mason Mount getting injured, Rashford situation happening, and Garnacho almost, regardless of the transfer, almost needing a rest out of the team as well.
Favour a bit.
Those 3 players, I think that kind of influenced him to go, okay, right, 2 fullbacks. But like you said, it needs to change, and like you've not got many options. Like obviously, we'll probably see that change if like we sign Dorgu in the next couple of weeks. But until then, you want to see something rather than Dalot and Mazraoui.
I've heard Luke Shaw is back in training, potentially at the end of the week, and I think if we can get the Dorgu deal wrapped up quickly, that'd be good, because then we can have Dorgu come in and Shaw's like, you can almost
just an almost like bench come off the bench.
You just have him like play like once every 3 games,
and
or something.
pray that he
starting,
doesn't
like,
get injured
like
again.
just ease him back into
the
it.
three 30-minute cameos he had before he got injured
all
again
good.
were all really, really good cameos, playing left wing back and left centre back.
He can play left centre back. The thing is, even with Shaw, if you play Shaw at left wing back, you can excuse having two full backs at wing back.
Actually good
because
going
he's
forward.
so good
going forward.
Like, I don't think people realise he's actually probably one of the best crossers of the ball.
Oh yeah,
in the world.
I think that is also a point as well. It's like, it's not necessarily the fact that you're playing fullbacks at wing back. It's the fact that it's Dalot and Mazraoui.
It's the type of fullbacks you
They're
have.
two fullbacks who just don't really do anything. Like Mazraoui's better at linking play, close.
In the final third, what he thrives at is like making those kind of clever runs to make space for the wingers, and then maybe sometimes the wingers find him, he can play a cutback. So I think it was the Fernandes opportunity against Brighton. There was Mazraoui who played the cutback. You know the one where Xerxes left it and Fernandes just messed up the shot. Like it was that was Mazraoui played that cutback. So he's like, he makes good runs and stuff, but he's not like a Trent, for example, in the final third, where he comes in, he's your like guy, you give him the ball and he's going to create the chance.
I still want to see him back at foot. I mean, I wrote an article on this the other day. I think he was doing so well. He was our player of the month in November.
He could play well at left centre back as well.
Yeah, like I think when you're and also Amorim's mentioned a lot of times, like, we really want to focus on like improving the build up. We're not going to be a transition team. We're building up. If you want to do that, like Mazraoui in that back three just makes sense.
Another issue as well is like we lack vertical passes in teams. So without Lisandro Martinez, Luke Shaw, those kind of players, we don't have those players who will zip it forward. And this is actually a thing. Obviously, we were talking off camera beforehand about Casemiro. He's made 6 appearances under Amorim, been straight benched, like as in not come off the bench, in 9 games, and it's almost like he's just been frozen out.
It's the same as Rashford, really, isn't it? Apart from like he's still in the squads.
Yeah, like I think Casemiro is obviously not perfect. I do think he should be seeing more minutes. I'll be honest. Like
So moving forward, then with the Casemiro more minutes, do you think therefore he should play against Rangers?
I'd honestly say like.
It is funny as well though, because I think we were looking, and it's like his only start recently is the Newcastle game, and it like. That's probably one thing you could exactly like him and Eriksen playing in that game was, I think it was like because Bruno and Ugarte were suspended and Mainu looked knackered before that game, so it's like it's almost like your hands were tied that you had to try and like see if these two experienced heads could like work, but it just against
that like one of the most physical teams in the entire league.
It was never going to work.
And I think also Casemiro, we said before, he's a player who likes rhythm. Like if you drop him for a few games, he might struggle to get back into it. But we do need some vertical. I think not that he should start every game over. We should play him a bit more. Even the 4-0 against Everton, we started him with Mainu, and I think he does complement Kobbie Mainu better than Manuel Ugarte does. But it's because he will actually pass forwards.
What do you think of Toby Collier?
I love him. I think
I think Collier should start against Rangers. I really hope.
I'm actually going to go ahead and say it. I think Toby Collier in the 2 games he's like come off the bench he came against Brighton as well. Yeah, in the games he's come off the bench, he's actually outperformed Ugarte. I think
Ugarte's been quite underwhelming these last few games. I mean, I know like your opinion on him overall. I think he went through a phase of like, I don't know how many games it was, but it just felt like he was really confident. He was really energetic. It feels like he's like a little bit too slow.
I think he suits the big games where we have to defend a little bit more. We have to fight. Like that quote, like when we don't have, when we have the ball, it's a game. When we don't, it's a fight. Like I think he suits that, which is why he was good against City, why he played well against Liverpool, why Arsenal he was all right as well. But when you have the ball, he just gets on my nerves because he doesn't pass.
I get that.
It's not even like I don't want him to because obviously Casemiro is the opposite extreme. Sometimes he just tries to be a bit too vertical, but it's almost like Ugarte is scared to pass forward. Like I always say, it's like he's playing rugby. Like sometimes with how he passes, it just really gets on my nerves.
But I feel like during those games, I don't know what it was, but I felt like just like when a player's in form and it just feels like stuff's going their way. Because I remember like, what was that? Was it the Liverpool game where we should and like he's the last man and he tries to clear it and like it just somehow finds someone in it and like it was just like he was in really good form, but as well like that type of midfielder, when you are just like that's too slow to the ball, it like ruined. Like I think it was the second Brighton goal where he tried to press, got beat, and then they scored. So it's like it's such like a when that's like your biggest strength, when it doesn't come off, you can look at those other things which you're like the passing.
This is another issue in the press. Like Ugarte and Mainu have been a bit late. Now Mainu's usually quite sharp, but they've been a bit late. And I think Ugarte, this is really funny. I said he's almost like Maguire midfield in a sense, in like he'll start a bit deeper than you want him to, but he'll jump in and like sometimes he'll win it, sometimes he'll just get completely spun, and then he can't recover. Yeah, that's not to like hate on Maguire or anything. It's just you know what I mean about the similarity.
It's his strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. But what I want to talk about with the Rangers game is I personally want to see quite a few changes. Yeah. For example, I've put on the screen here Altay Bayindir and Eriksen. I want to see Bayindir start again. I feel like he deserves to play another game after that Arsenal game, and also Onana's blunder against Brighton doesn't do him any favours. Yeah. I think I'd like to see Bayindir start, just to see him in a game where we're gonna hopefully be a little more dominant than the because Arsenal game obviously we weren't as much. We were a bit more like backs against the wall, especially once the 60th minute Diogo Dalot got sent off, and that's when Bayindir was great. But I just want to see how he would be in a game where we meant to be the favourites.
Yeah, I think a goalkeeper. I think for Bayindir as well, it's like you want your backup goalkeeper to not just come in once in a blue moon. You want him to almost get that match speed.
Like Stefan Ortega at City.
He's a really good backup because he plays often. Looking back to everyone
even
mentions
Keller at Liverpool.
Everyone mentions Romero, United's best backup, and it was like he
was,
often. But he also literally played like all the cups almost.
He'd make like 10-15 appearances.
That's why I remember that Spurs game, the Spurs game where obviously Bayindir made a couple of bad blunders, and everyone, like a lot of people were getting on his back, and I was thinking
when you don't play off.
I think the only position worse than a backup number one is a backup number one who never plays, because like when you come in for that one game, it's like must be crazy pressure, and obviously he made the mistakes, but then he played a little bit soon after, and he has a really good game. So I think you might as well put him in.
I want to see Altay Bayindir start. I do actually kind of want to see Eriksen start.
I love Eriksen.
At the on the right with Ahmad at wing back, because if we're playing Ahmad at wing back and Ahmad has that license to go forwards, and we've got Eriksen on that right side feeding with him, I think that'd be nice. I really want to see Toby Collier play from the start. I really want to see Toby Collier play. Other midfielder, maybe drop Bruno into midfield alongside Toby Collier if you're going to play Bruno. On the left, I don't know. Maybe Garnacho, maybe bring Rashford back or something. I don't know.
It's just they play rock paper scissors before they're moving.
To see who it is. And then left wing back's going to be like Dalot as always. Striker, I want to see Xerxes play because I want to see Xerxes actually have a run of few games.
Do you know? Part of me's thinking to let Højlund have Europa, because you know what, when it comes to Europe,
Europa League,
like if Champions League, when it comes to Europe, he just like becomes unplayable. And I think because I don't think Xerxes will start the 3 games in a row. So I'd rather we give Højlund this game.
I would like to see Xerxes given that kind of rhythm.
But I think he'd benefit from it as well.
Yeah,
I think because I think before the Brighton game, I thought give Xerxes 4 or 5 starts in a row. But at the same time, I do also think like the amount we don't really know what his fitness level is at, like to be a consistent starter. Like I think
he'll always come off anyways at some point.
I mentioned to you last week that he's only started consecutive games twice so far for United, Xerxes. So I would like to see him get that rhythm, but I also do kind of Højlund turns into the player we want him to be when we play in Europe.
And I was going to ask just a final question: score predictions for the Rangers game.
I've still never predicted us to lose on this pod. I'm gonna stick to that.
Yeah.
The day I predict us to lose on this pod will be a very dark day. But everyone knows, please just check up on my mental health that day. That I predict us to lose on this podcast. I'm gonna 2-1 United.
Okay. I'll be even more confident. Like I want a comfortable like.
Yeah, actually, no. Let's 4-1.
I was going to say 3-0. I think we're going to get our first clean sheet in about 6 years.
I was going to go 3-1.
Yeah, I think 3-1 actually.
I want confidence in the team. Like that's sort of, like when you can have a barren spell, but if you just have a good game, it can sometimes give that confidence.
I want them to enjoy themselves. I want to see the players look like they're enjoying themselves, because that's when we play our best football.
Yeah.
That's when every team always plays their best football.
They need that confidence.
I want to see it like when Ahmed, when he's enjoying himself, Garnacho when he's enjoying himself, same with like Højlund, Mainu, everyone just enjoy playing football.
Yeah. Fingers
I think
crossed.
Home game against Rangers, atmosphere is going to be class. The Rangers fans are going to be great. United fans will therefore hopefully return that. And I just think it'll be that's the kind of game I want to see United enjoy.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Let's get some signings over the line as well.
Yeah, that's just yeah.
I just think
that will sort of think make everyone happy as well.
Be brave with your approach, ideally don't break any TVs afterwards, because Jim Ratcliffe might
come out of his wages as well.
He might phone up Flex and be like, how much for the can we get the TV on a discount? But
we got that one as well as not being used at the minute.
Yeah, so but I think I completely understand why it's stressing, but be brave, initiate that bravery with your setup a bit with the wing backs.
I'd love to just see one of the wing backs not be a full back in this game.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think Ahmed at wing back, but with Eriksen next to him to just feed it, because Eriksen fed him for that second goal, second goal. Like that kind of, because Eriksen's still a good player.
Such a good pass, by the way.
It was amazing. Eriksen's a great player. He just can't run.
I mean, to be fair as well, the finish from Ahmed was
brilliant.
I feel but the City game where he scored that unreal winner and that one, it was like, how does he make those finishes look so easy?
He's switched on. He's the best player in the league. Either way, thank you very much for watching. As always, please check United District out in the comments. Please check out Kane, me, Yusuf. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all of that to United View. Let us know what you thought about what we've talked about, the system changes, Garnacho's replacements, who should be starting against Rangers. Listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you can't watch on YouTube. Apart from that, we'll see you next week.